long are you going to keep us here, Fubre?
As long as it takes.
But if you're right, and there is a Perjurer here, you endanger us all.
A risk I'm willing to take.
A fool's game.
Yes, well, let's just say I have my reasons.
Just remember what I said when all this hits the fan.
And it will, Inari.
So let's rewind. One of you killed Chaska and,
One of us, lest you forget, you too are suspect.
though obviously not the guilty one here,
The guilty party's alibi is so airtight I doubt it's any one of us. The killer just as well texts Chaska again to mock Fubre.
I'm starting to think Fubre is hiding something from himself.
You think Fubre is up to another trick too, huh?
Can't put it past him. We all know how obsessed he is over finding every last Perjurer. Remember the stunt he pulled back in the village of Koda?
How is he even keeping a badge these days?
Why not ask his ever-faithful assistant? Eve?
Fubre is not without reason. Chaska not only died, but left a body constant with every other victim of a Perjurer-related kill. And last I checked, you still need a life of someone who trusted you dearly to perjure them. And she only had so many friends. You five in particular.
but we all know each other here. How could any of us harm that girl?
And we can't just stop trusting each other. Not enough to make a difference. And if we can't do that, this hypothetical Perjurer has us trapped. Tell us Fubre has a plan to avoid such madness.
You needn't concern yourselves. You see, I've already gotten it all figured out. Well, if it isn't my favorite little girl. Hello, Inali.
Shut up and do your job.
Very well, Puppet. We'll start with your whereabouts on the evening of March 7th, 2036.
You know where I was yesterday.
Indulge me.
I was told to come to the Valley by Chaska herself.
And did you find her?
Yup. And I saw Pizzicato and Italy enter the village too.
So you, Ankes, and your sister were the first to arrive in Veli.
Yeah. Said Chaska called her and begged Italy to come to Valley.
And why were you there?
Same reason.
Because Chaska called you.
Precisely. Now, you must realize you're getting nowhere with this. Put me back on the case and see your mystery resolved.
And all their alibis check out?
I'm afraid so. Even Inare's number comes up in Chaska's recent phone calls.
Why would she call them all to Veli? It makes no sense.
Well, we have until tonight to figure things out. Deadline is tomorrow, and I doubt the Sonatinas will put up with another Coda incident.
I know.
Should we go over what we know again?
From the top. The incident took place in the village of Veli. Said village is surrounded by a large lake, and the only way to get in or out is to take the beaten path, a 5-minute trek by foot. No one was in Veli except Chaska and the suspects, and if this perjurer is like the others, it feeds off the trust that they've gained from others to extend their own lives. And if Chaska was that life, it had to be one of them.
It has been confirmed that Chaska called them all over. What hasn't been confirmed is why she did. All of them are claiming they found her dead with a mark of a perjurer when they got there, Eli being the first to notice the body.
Any of them noticed peculiar behavior from their peers at the time?
Each one of them appeared shaken up when they heard the news from Eli. It was noted by Ankes that Inali and Lenare didn't stay that way for long though.
We both know Chaska never really knew you.
Your point being?
Figure it out, detective. You expect us to believe Chaska called you all the way here to tell you something when you've barely held a single conversation with her? $10 say you're borrowing our story.
Oh, how the young so easily spew noise.
What was that?
Chaska's body showed no signs of physical injury or poison. We can assume the perjurer's mark was the method of murder. So how, pray tell, could someone who hardly spoke to Chaska have enough of her trust to kill her with it? I know you are but a child, but I'm surprised even you let that obvious fact slip your mind.
Don't you mock me.
Or you'll what? Perjure me? I'd like to see you try, puppet, what with my trust for you being so obvious.
Give that foolish theory a rest. I'm no perjurer.
Inali and Lenari, what they wouldn't do to see the other fall prey to the law.
But what Lenare told us rings true. If she hardly knew Chaska, she cannot be the culprit, no matter how unusual her presence in Vale is.
It relieves me, really.
Yes, nothing quite like Lenare being the last perjurer alive. It wouldn't bode well for your manner.
Well, if we're right about there being only one perjurer left, that is. Not that it matters if we don't pinpoint Chaska's murderer. Tell me, was there any discrepancies between calls? Any chance one of them simply called themselves using Chaska's cell after killing her?
Well, to put it simply, no. Her sent calls are all 1 minute apart from each other, Inali being first to receive a call, and Lenare being last.
It's never that simple, is it? Alright, so, Lenari's pushed down to least likely, and Inali was seen entering the village after Eli discovered the body. That does beg the question.
How can you read a book at a time like this?
Soothes the nerves. Chaska's dead. Fubre will be here any minute now. You're busy arguing with Inali again. And of course, one of you guys is a perjurer. Yep, soothing the nerves.
Oh, come now. Worst case scenario. You trusted the wrong person and will die in a matter of hours.
I have no idea how you thought that would be helpful.
I said worst case.
Pizzicato. He's just like Alice, Eli, and Hankey's. Arrived at Valley early enough to have secluded Chaska and killed her. She trusted him the most, which makes him a little higher on our suspect list.
Did he happen to see Inali before she made her official appearance?
No. None of them did.
Well, none of them say they saw Chaska alive yesterday either.
We'll get to the bottom of this, sir.
Poor Chaska. She didn't deserve that.
Whoever did this is going to pay. Fubre will make sure of it.
You sound so sure for someone who doesn't like the guy.
Differences notwithstanding, he's all about results. As long as he doesn't waste all his time trying to pin the blame on me, he'll find her killer.
You speak as if you don't care which of our friends is the culprit.
This murderer is no friend of ours, Alice.
Agreed. And if any one of us is here without receiving a call from Chaska, we'll know who's behind this.
We must be missing something.
Well, there isn't much more to tell here. Alice, Eli, and Ankies came to Valley together, and up until Eli left the two to find Chaska, the three were together.
It'd be easy to assume a perjurer would simply claim to not have found Chaska when he did, killed her before returning, but...
Not reporting the body would seem too suspicious, when combined with his otherwise dubious departure from his sister and her fiancé.
Which would explain the incoming phone call on Chaska's cell.
Yes. When she didn't pick up, I left to look for her. Ankies and Alice can attest to this.
I won't lie to you, Eli. It was a bold move calling us when you found the body.
Do you believe my story, though?
I believe nothing yet, Eli.
Because you're having no luck in finding out who killed her, are you?
Afraid not. Not that I'm worried.
And why is that?
Because this mystery is absolutely delectable. Why, this killer is so good at their craft that I find myself a little excited.
Why is that?
It's a secret. We don't want my theories to fall into the wrong hands now, do we?
Then why even bring it up?
Because I have a scheme just as brilliant. But I'll need to entrust some of the load onto you two.
Do you already have a suspect we can narrow in on?
No, I just know how to get a primary suspect now.
Wow, arrogant much?
Why don't you just tell me how far you were from Vayli when you received the call?
About an hour.
Shoot, I guess a few minutes if I run.
We were visiting Enki's shrine, so around 10 minutes.
A little over 5 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes?
Ah, and given the timing of the calls and Chaska's estimated time of death, I can assume the Perjurer had to work quick.
I assume so.
It's fantastic, really.
How can you be enjoying this so much? Wasn't Chaska your friend too?
Sorry about that.
It's unlike you to seem distracted. Something on your mind?
Nothing too special. Thinking about Chaska. Me, well, my personality, you know, mundane introspection stuff.
Well, try not to be too hard on yourself. I'm guessing you're not the Perjurer after all.
I suppose only having two people trust me has its perks in this crazy world.
I hear you there. Don't worry. When the last Perjurer is found, you can work on your people skills to your heart's content.
Your kind words have been noted. Have a good night's sleep, Ankies.
Yep, you too.
You needn't concern yourselves. You see, I've already gotten it all figured out.
Well, out with it. Who did it?
I must admit, I don't think I would have been able to solve this one in good time if not for Lenari here.
How so? Her questions were basic and unhelpful.
Hush, child. You may learn something. The questions verified a little theory I had.
First things first. The Perjurer worked alone.
How can you be so sure?
If the Perjurer had help, they would never have needed Chaska to make those calls. You all being summoned to Vayli was a ploy to make you all sure suspects, with no one around to attest your innocence. If the Perjurer had an accomplice, he could have simply had his partner cover for him once the deed was done.
So yes, getting Chaska to call her closest friends over to obscure their identity until Fubray's deadline is proof enough that you are all indeed standing next to a Perjurer as I speak.
The Perjurer would have to work quick if he wanted to avoid coming off as suspicious.
Too quick.
How do you mean?
Our killer had to not only get to Chaska before the calls, but had to kill her, rush back, and then come back to Vayli as if it was their first time there. Not much time to spare, really. And because of the village's layout along with Inali's hour journey, I regret to inform you all that Inali is not Chaska's killer.
Jeez, kid, you had me going for a moment.
I'll be honest with you, Pizzicato. You playing up your innocence in all this may be a little suspicious. There are two factors that prove your innocence as well.
The first one being you getting there after Eli's group. Being so close to Vayli, this alone would usually not absolve you of guilt. But there's one last piece of the puzzle.
And that's what we overheard this morning. Perjurer and keys.
What?
And what did you hear this morning?
The killer just as well text Chaska again to mock Fubray. I believe those are your words, Ankies.
We checked Chaska's phone, and any text messages involving you have been peculiarly wiped from memory for weeks.
Well, obviously I haven't texted her for weeks. I mean, I've been busy with my upcoming wedding and—
You can stop now. We know you've been sending texts to Chaska in preparation of this day.
No, just take a look at my phone. You'll see there's nothing on it.
Looking for this?
Your phone's history is inconsistent with Chaska's. According to her phone, she hasn't spoken to you in weeks. But according to yours, you've been giving constant reminders for weeks in preparation for yesterday. You were in such a rush to clear Chaska's phone and get back to your shrine, you had little time to clear your own. A pity. To Chaska, it was supposed to be a special day where she throws a surprise party for everyone in celebration of your friendships. Not gonna lie, Enkies. Jerk move.
Tell me they're wrong, Enkies.
When Alice knocked on your door yesterday, you were actually in Valley with Chaska, weren't you?
Suppose the truth's out now, isn't it?
Enkies.
We now have legal proceeding to place you under proper quarantine at this moment, Perjurer Enkies. You are to come with us when the airship arrives. Anything you say or do may result in your immediate death.
Yeah, heard it all before.
You did good retrieving Enki's phone.
Yes, well, it wasn't our hardest case.
Though the new law prohibiting extended detention of perjurer suspects did not help.
It's just another obstacle in the big chase. It'd be boring without them.
Speaking of odd, you seemed a bit down earlier. Is everything all right?
Just thinking about all this trust business and how little of it I've garnered over the years.
Feeling lonely? Well, you could always be friendlier. If our numbers are correct, you can finally place some trust in someone besides Evan and I. Outside the force, perhaps?
You speak of frightening times ahead.
Well, if you ever need to, talk about it, I don't mind.
Actually,